world of football is, I wouldn't say it's normal, because all of a sudden...
It's never been normal, is it? It's absolutely bonkers.
I am joining you live from my bar.
Oh, wow. Well, potentially could be worth it for 30 goals a season.
Hello, my name is Roshan, Narayan, and thank you for joining us on In 20. Danny and I like to start off 2022 in a positive manner. And the good news, or maybe it's not so good news, is Romelu Lukaku has been dropped from the Chelsea squad against Liverpool. He is topic number 2, which is even more important in the bigger spectrum when it comes just not to his relationship with the football club, but the title race as well. But before we get into that, Danny, club versus country, it's always been a debate since the beginning of time. Normally, you talk about Liverpool having a go at the different countries when they have to release their players, but Watford, of all teams, has had a row with Nigeria. We all know the story. Emmanuel Dennis was supposed to fly back apparently, but they submitted it a bit too late, and then all of a sudden there's this big hoo-ha. Nigeria claiming that he was threatened that he will never be able to play for Watford. What's going on there?
I find it incredibly strange. It's a little bit of a farce, realistically. Playing for your country is one of the best honours that can be bestowed upon you in sport. It's magnificent. It's what you aim for from a child. Growing up watching African Cup of Nations, the Euros, the World Cup. It's one of the first sort of great moments. It's the pinnacle of any career. I was under the impression that teams had to release players for tournaments. I assume that's part of FIFA regulations, who obviously govern world football. And if you aren't released, you can be banned, you can be suspended. If you think back to to simplify it, there's the 5-day, 10-day rule. That if you're injured and don't turn up, then internationally FIFA can ban you from playing in your domestic league. Simple as that. So this is an incredibly bizarre, very, very strange situation. I'm sure the player wants to go and take part in the African Cup of Nations and represent his country, but obviously something has gone horribly wrong.
Okay, just to put things into perspective, apparently Nigeria, the FA, missed out on the deadline for him. He's got a teammate who's actually going for the competition, and he's participated, and there's other players from the league that have gone as well. So is this the FA, and I mean no disrespect, whatever.
But missed out on the deadline, Roshan. In 2002, we had players that were in the squad. Trevor Sinclair was brought in at the very, very last minute because you get injuries, like the day before the official squad has to be announced. So I don't necessarily buy into that. They've known about the African Cup of Nations for quite a few years, I would say. To miss a deadline sounds highly unlikely. If it is a paperwork or an administrative error, then surely Watford have to sort of say, okay, that's fine. It's an error, it's a mistake. We're still going to allow our player to go and play. If the player wants to go and play, surely he has to be allowed to go, because that's going to cause massive ramifications. If the player doesn't want to go, then retire from international football. It's not an issue, is it? And the problem is then suddenly gone away. You say, look, I'm not available to play for international tournaments because I don't want to play for my country. That's fine. But for the club to not allow him to go, it's a bizarre situation.
So just to clarify things, perhaps I'm just adding fuel to the fire. Do you think it's the players just come up with this thing and said, listen, they're threatening me. I would love to come. I really want to be there, but I can't be there. Because you mentioned legally they can't hold them back. If the player messes up, then FIFA and UEFA all come into play and really make a big hoo-ha about it. So do you think Dennis is playing both parties here?
Can you imagine that if it came out that Watford now treat him badly because he goes away African Cup of Nations, he gets treated differently? Can you imagine the lawyers that would get involved, the unions that would get involved, FIFA that would get involved? It would cause mass issues around the globe. It would be huge, absolutely huge. So, yeah, I'm not sure where the motivations are from all parties in this. Whether he doesn't want to go and he's using that as an excuse, who knows? But at the moment, it's a complete mess.
But generally, is competitions like what's going on right now looked down upon from European clubs?
It's difficult to say. I once got accused of talking about the African nations in a derogatory manner, although I did preempt that with saying I'm going to be biased because I'm English. I play for England. I live in England. I live in Europe. So therefore, to me, the Euros is a bigger tournament. Just as why would it not be? Simple as that. Whereas I'm pretty sure to you, playing in the Asian Cup would be a bigger deal to you because that's where you're from. That's what you want to do. That's what you grow up watching. The problem is that these players, they play in Europe. Their clubs are based in Europe. So therefore, of course, there is going to be a bias towards European competition because that's what it's all about. It's about UEFA Champions League. It's about, the Euros, about the Premier League, La Liga, Liga and all the others, Serie A. So, of course, there is going to be a bias towards this. And it doesn't fit in, particularly with the calendar very, very well. Playing it in January when it's a very, very busy time in European football. That's always been a problem. So it's not about looking at it in a derogatory manner or not as good a competition. It's just where you live. If you're South American, and we've seen Brazilians, Argentinians, Uruguayans, they want to play in their tournament, and they will go in there and play in that because that's where they're from. That's what they want to do. It's just it's geography, simple as that.
And fair play to you. You're being very honest, and I respect that. And your comments are coming in as well. So thank you very much. If it's angry, keep it going. Everyone's, football is a sport based on opinion.
Everyone's entitled to their opinion.
Absolutely. And the one thing I'd ask you is this topic right now about Nigeria versus Watford, it's basically covered up what's going on with the club. Ranieri, and forgive me if I'm wrong, was it just 10 losses out of 12 games?
Yeah, I think that they haven't kept a clean sheet now for 28 games, I believe. Obviously, that goes back to last time that they were in the Premier League. I think last time they kept a clean sheet was when they beat Liverpool and stopped Liverpool's invincible run when they won 3-0. Which seems probably about 15 years ago now, with everything that's gone on in the world. But yeah, it's Watford were in trouble when Claudio Ranieri took over. Again, you get that 1 or 2 game bounce. But if you look back over the history of time, there are very, very few managers that go in and get a long-term bounce effect. Everybody thinks, I'll change the manager, change your fortunes, and the club goes in a different direction. Actually, it's quite rare that really happens.
Now, the question is that the Premier League title he won with Leicester City, has that added a lot more shine to the fact that, listen, maybe he wasn't all that great. He is a Premier League winner, but what's going on with Watford and him?
But he'd always done well at other clubs. I know he'd finished, he'd done well at Chelsea originally. Then he'd finished second. He'd done well in Italy, and he was always a good manager. Hadn't quite managed to get over the line in terms of winning something. Obviously, did that with Leicester. But it's like, Dean Smith goes into Norwich, they win a game, they draw a game, and then they lose a load. Newcastle, very, very similar. You change the manager, you think, there's going to be a bounce back. No, they're still in the bottom 3. Watford have changed their manager. You can't suddenly expect these players to suddenly change and become completely different and better players. It doesn't happen like that. The players are what they are. You deserve to finish in the league for a certain reason, and I've always said the team with the best players wins the league. Generally, therefore, the team with the worst players finishes bottom. There will always be the odd exception to that rule, but that's pretty much what happens.
Fair play. So what's going on with Lukaku then? He's been dropped from the team.
That's even. I don't get it in the slightest. I think these comments started. Is it about 2 weeks ago? There was
his agent came out and said, he's happy at Chelsea, but
he did an interview in Italian, I think, didn't he? But it's the comments are incredibly strange. I really don't understand it, and I'm not surprised that Thomas Tuchel has dragged him in, hauled him over the coals and said, "Hang on a minute, what's going on? What are you doing? You can't be saying things like this." Basically said, I want to leave, and I don't want to be. I want to go back to Inter Milan, which I don't get in the slightest.
But that's a team that what he said was they didn't offer him a contract. City came knocking on the door. He didn't go there. And now a club that offered him a good paycheck, he said yes to. It's business after all, yeah, Danny? He said yes to playing for Chelsea. He's come over there. And once again, and to quote Sir Alex Ferguson, is he a big-time Charlie? Has he been found wanting in the Premier League again?
I get why he hasn't quite done it as yet, has he? Yes, he did incredibly well in Italy. We know that. He has a certain style of play, a certain way of playing. He knew Thomas Tuchel was the manager, though, when he signed. So what's the issue with that? He must have spoken to him. And I'm sure he would have had other options, of where to go, not just Chelsea on the table. He chose to go there. I just find his comments incredibly strange. Chelsea are still doing pretty well. He's been injured. He's been out. He's got back in the team now. He scored. It's like clearly something has upset him or riled him. But
this was planned. This was really planned.
Oh yeah, this is not lost in. This is clearly not lost in translation because Thomas Tuchel has obviously brought him in, had a chat with him, and said, "Hang on a minute, explain yourself." Okay, now you explain yourself. Now you're dropped because I really don't like what you've said. So it's a big problem for Chelsea.
Will that upset the dressing room right now?
I think it will probably go the other way. It's not like Lukaku's been firing in goal after goal after goal at the moment. So I think they'll look at it. If you're a superstar and you are scoring, if you're scoring 2 goals every game and you're on fire, then you probably get a little bit more leeway and you get away with a little bit. And players will go, don't like it, but he's doing great for us. It's not like he's playing great at the moment. It's not like he's scoring, every single game, and a constant threat. So I think the other players will look at it and go, well, hang on a minute. Yeah, he's not doing it. He said all these strange comments about our football club. The manager's called him out on it. And I think, the players will back the manager in this instance.
But why always Chelsea? I remember Diego Costa had a problem with the manager that was there at that point of time. He threw a fuss. I remember him throwing, I think it was a training jersey or something onto the pitch when he was substituted.
Well,
Chelsea, it's history repeating itself at Chelsea.
Roshan, is because they change their manager so often. There's that general sort of instability at the top. Maybe players think, well, actually, if I cause a problem, I'll outlast the manager. I'll be here a lot longer than he's going to be there. So actually, if I do cause a problem for a year or 6 months, chances are I haven't got to wait that long until a new manager comes in anyhow. So maybe there's a little bit of that of players thinking. But it's not just Chelsea. I think, this happens at all clubs. We've seen it at Manchester United. It often happens when you're not winning and you're not winning trophies. Everything was great last season to Chelsea winning the Champions League. They're a little bit off the pace at the moment. Problems have only arisen at Manchester United since they stopped winning things. Problems have arisen at Arsenal since they stopped winning things. Problems at Tottenham. They've never won things. Sorry, Tottenham fans. I'm only teasing.
Oh my God, horrible man.
I'm only teasing. But it is, isn't it? There's no issues at Manchester City because they're winning trophies, season in, season out. If suddenly that changes at some point, then we will start to, no doubt, hear about little cracks in the system.
Man City won the game late on. I mean, we don't need to get into that dive from Bernardo Silva, if it was a dive or not, but because everybody's spoken about it.
Roshan, it was a penalty. The dive was unnecessary. The dive was a huge over-exaggeration and was a little bit delayed. It was a penalty, but I think because of what we've seen, where players are being pulled or being tripped, and if they don't go down, they're not getting penalties. That's always been the case. He's over-exaggerated it, and it looks a little bit daft. But first and foremost, it was a penalty. The dive was exaggerated and ridiculous, but it was a penalty.
And everything in slow motion does look really horrible. You spoke about Man City. The best thing for them right now in this game between Chelsea and Liverpool is a draw?
Without a doubt. I saw something on social media yesterday. Pep said, people are giving you the title already, and it's only just like, we're just into January. And I think Pep said, yeah, that's fine. Give us the trophy and we'll go on the holiday to Maldives. We don't have to play any more games this season. But, football isn't like that. yeah, a draw just extends that gap, doesn't it? Makes it even harder for everybody else to catch City.
Why is City so consistent? And you look at the likes of Liverpool and Chelsea, United, Tottenham, and other teams that have blips.
I think City aren't reliant on one player. They have a squad littered with talent. They all know that if they don't perform, they get dropped. Simple as that. There are 20 superstars in that Manchester City squad. If one's not doing it, you bring another one in. And they all want to win things. He's developed this winning mentality like Manchester United had. It doesn't matter. You win one, fine. Go and win two. Win two, got to win three. Win three, got to win four. And he's just created this drive and desire to keep on winning and keep pushing his players to get better and better and better. And that's quite hard. To keep a team motivated for that long is not easy. And Pep's managed to do that. Yes, he's got fantastic players, but to keep that ridiculously high standard and that motivation is tough. And Pep is doing it better than anybody else at the moment.
So let's talk about a one-man team, Harry Maguire and co. at Manchester United. Rio Ferdinand has come out and said that, listen, maybe it was too early to give him the captaincy. He should have proven himself, then gotten the ban. Now there's a debate between him and Cristiano. People are going against Cristiano.
Captaincy is irrelevant, Roshan. We've spoken about this many times. It's an armband. It's a token gesture. Yeah, but it's a commercial decision.
Yeah,
that's what it comes down to. At the time when Harry Maguire got it, no one really complained because there was no one else to give it to.
Okay.
Well, even now,
yeah.
If Ronaldo's not there, who do you give the armband to? And
Angry Bruno.
Well, he's not in the team half the time. Captain has to be someone that's going to be first name on the team sheet. First and foremost, because you've got to play every single week. So the captain's role has become far less relevant than it used to be. It's a token gesture. It's an armband. It's a commercial decision. Captain does not have the power like he used to. Simple as that.
But if you wanted somebody to just reignite, some passion and some motivation and some harsh words on the pitch, wouldn't you give it to Cristiano because he's earned the right? He has this reputation. He has a resume.
Why shouldn't he do that? Why shouldn't he do that anyhow? Why do you have to be captain to do that? Why do you need to have captain to have that respect? Cristiano Ronaldo should have the utmost respect from all those players for what he's done, for what he's achieved, the way he looks after himself, and the way he performs. Just because he's got his captain's armband, should they listen to him any differently? No, not in the slightest. You look up to players and go, look, he's a player of experience. Look at what he's done. I'm going to listen to him. He's playing well. That's the difference. That's what I'm saying. That you should have 6 or 7 captains, within that team, all saying their piece, all pushing the team to get better. Look at Manchester City. It's irrelevant who the captain is.
Yep.
Doesn't matter. Right. In the Italian team, it's often the oldest player or the player with the most caps, where it might be. Again, token gesture. Doesn't make any difference.
Uncle Ralph has said that he won't be going into the transfer market because he's got enough and more talent in the squad. That's subject to debate. But wouldn't you say if they had the money, go get Phillips and Rice for that midfield and sort things out?
Yeah,
or wait for the new manager.
Yeah, you won't get them. You won't get them in January. Simple as that. Or you're going to have to pay so far over the odds. It's not going to happen. And also, he'll be planning for next summer, whether he's in a permanent role or whether obviously he moves upstairs and becomes that technical director of football, whatever it might be. So, yes, in the perfect world, you go and buy them. But Chelsea might have something to say about that as well. I think they're obviously interested in Declan Rice also. But he might want to stay at West Ham. So we all know that the January transfer window, very, very difficult to get players. And especially now, with all the COVID issues and all the postponements and the extra fixtures piling up, teams are not going to want to let players go. Even the players on the fringes that they'd normally let out and go on loan, they're going to want to keep.
Okay, just a quick question. If there was a scenario where Tuchel was fired and at the end of the season, United had to pick between Pochettino and Tuchel, who would you go for? 30 seconds, go.
Tuchel. Don't need 30 seconds.
Oh my goodness. Pochettino is not that great?
I didn't say it's not that great. You gave me a choice of 2, Roshan. I had to pick one.
Thank you very much, Danny. We can dive deep into that topic on our next show. All the talking points on our Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook page. Till the next time, Happy New Year.